December 15th, 2025. This is a Kearney Board of Aldermen meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Cindy, have you had a chance to take roll?
I have taken roll. Everyone is present. You have the quorum.
Thank you. We'll move on to public hearings and personal appearances this evening. First item on the agenda this evening is a public hearing to receive public comments on a proposed text amendment to establish regulations for short-term rentals in Kearney, Missouri. If you wish to speak for or against the proposed text amendments to establish regulations for short-term rentals, we'll have you come forward to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and then you'll have the floor. The floor is open for public comments and input. Ryan, do we have anybody online? I don't think we do that wants to speak.
I don't believe so, sir.
Move. Thank you. See nobody move. I will close the floor for public comment and input. Next item is a presentation of a Clay County Economic Development Keystone Award to Mr. Ryan Fluschmeyer and his two kids, which I believe they are here this evening. Carolyn, I'll turn it over to you before we get a photo op.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So yes, as you stated, annually the Clay County Economic Development Council selects recipients for Keystone Awards, and the City of Kearney had 3. And Mr. Fluschmeyer was not able to attend Clay County's event on December 4th, and so the mayor invited him here this evening to accept the award on behalf of Clay County Economic Development Council. So I just want to speak just very briefly on the project that won the award. So the all-new Fluschmeyer multi-tenant building is located at 940 Innovation Drive and represents a significant private investment in Kearney and initially bringing 18 total jobs. The owner, Ryan Fluschmeyer, decided to relocate his business, Fluschmeyer Leasing and Sales, from Kansas City to Kearney. He demonstrated true foresight and commitment to the community by building a facility larger than he needed with the intention of supporting future business growth. His plan paid off, and the all-new building is fully leased. Ryan's project now also welcomes River Trails Beer Works, a locally owned microbrewery which is anticipated to open in January, and Black Tie Barn, a manufacturer and distributor of premium fragrance oils and candle making supplies, and they have future plans to have a retail presence at the facility. This multi-tenant project embodies the spirit of Clay County Economic Development Council's Keystone Award by showcasing how private investment and collaboration drives job creation, business growth, and strengthens our economy.
Great. Congratulations, Ryan.
Congratulations.
Would your boys like to be in the photo with us?
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Ryan. Sorry, I'll leave the applause. Appreciate your investment, Ryan. Welcome. Next item is the Clay County Extension Council. I believe this evening we have a board member, Katie Wright, here, who is a 4-H youth representative and has a presentation for us this evening.
Just signing the paper.
Thank you so much, Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so I'll start with, my name is Katie Wright, and I am the 4-H Youth Representative for the Clay County Extension Council, and that is what I would like to talk about today. I have been a part of the council for 3 years, and that is why I am here to give this presentation. So there we go. Extension provides access to university research and resources. Extension also provides education and is a partner in your community. Extension's tagline is Serve Missouri while delivering Mizzou. So the University of Missouri Extension provides community education and outreach. Extension offers classes, publications, consultations, and services. Extension programs focus on several areas: agriculture and environment, business and community, health and human services, health and safety. Faculty, staff, volunteers, and community partners work together to implement these programs. So where does Extension serve? Extension programs are available in 114 counties in Missouri and the city of St. Louis. Kansas City is part of the Urban West region, which includes Clay, Jackson, and Platte County. In this photo, faculty and staff of MU Extension are pictured doing a service project with one of our partners, Truman Habitat for Humanity, in 2023. Programs in the Urban West region include agriculture and environment, business and community development, community and professional health education, and health and human sciences. And all of those categories have subcategories, as you can see from the slide. Extension programs like these, available through health and nutrition, have major impact in the community. Participants in Stay Strong, Stay Healthy improve their ability to perform daily activities, enhance physical fitness, and boost strength, balance, and flexibility. Regular physical activity lowers the risk of falls and promotes better overall health and fosters greater independence. These health benefits reduce the likelihood of participants losing their independence and needing to move into a care facility, which costs an average of $58,000 per year in Missouri. In this slide, we have field specialist Melissa Cotton teaching fall prevention classes. Our faculty are experts in their field. They bring a rich background of education, training, and experiences to the programs they lead. In addition to the educational opportunities MU Extension offers to the public, our field specialists are also resources to the community. They serve on boards, advisory groups, and task forces. They present at local conferences, join panel discussions, and table at resource fairs. They offer a speakers bureau, train the trainer, and continuing education for professionals. Extension faculty can provide helpful input at community meetings such as county commission or town halls. MU Extension provides value as conveners. We make introductions between partners to facilitate shared goals and meet the needs of our community. The work of Extension would not be possible without the support we get from our partners. Extension works with community groups, neighborhoods, nonprofit organizations, libraries, schools, health and social services to plan and implement programming. Our partners help us to understand the needs and interests of the community. They help us to establish and grow trust with the community through our collaborative efforts. Partners contribute time and resources such as funding, in-kind donations, referrals, and promotion. They help shared resources go farther through co-sponsorship and coalitions. In this photo, the Missouri Department of Conservation recognized Chatomi Lester Edward, Regional Director for Urban West Region, for her exceptional efforts in fostering a strong partnership between the organizations. One of our most important partnerships are the county extension councils. That's where I come in. The councils are made up of locally elected or appointed representatives who operate county extension offices and provide input on educational programming. County extension councils are a partner with the university, not a part of it. Each county council is its own entity under state statute. In the Urban West region, there are councils for Clay, Jackson, and Platte County. All council members are volunteers. Volunteers are critical to the delivery of our mission, community education and outreach. There are over 700 volunteers in the Urban West region. Faculty expertise is an important quality of Extension, but one person has limited impact. MU Extension extends its reach and capacity by training volunteers to assist with education and service delivery. People can volunteer with 4-H, Extension Master Gardener, Extension Garden Steward, Missouri Master Naturalist, the tax program, or the County Extension Council. The value of Extension is not just in education. Our programs offer a way for people to gather around a common interest and serve their community. So one area of Extension that is extremely special to me is 4-H, of which I have been a part of for 8 years. So let's meet our wonderful staff. MU Extension faculty and staff coordinate our 4-H programs and volunteers. In the Urban West region, faculty and staff are assigned to a delivery mode instead of specific counties. So on the upper left, we have Dylan Newman. On the bottom right, we have Shiana Burgett. And on the bottom left, we have Shiana Burgett. And on the right, we have Justin Strickland. And I will say, not pictured here, we do have a new youth specialist specifically for Clay County to help advance our 4-H clubs. So what is the primary goal of 4-H? That goal is to develop citizenship, leadership, responsibility, and life skills among youth aged 5 to 18. Youth are encouraged to take on leadership roles within their clubs and communities. Programs often focus on addressing local issues, fostering civic responsibility among participants. Members gain practical skills in areas such as agriculture, science, technology, and arts through project-based learning. Programs are available in various settings, including schools, community centers, and camps. 4-H is operated with support from volunteers and partners in the community. Key partners include Parks and Recreation. MU Extension 4-H offers multiple ways to get involved. First, we have our community clubs. These are the traditional 4-H clubs that typically meet in the evenings or on weekends. Members enroll in projects, participate in group activities, and attend monthly club meetings. We also have school enrichment programs, including our spin clubs, which focus on a specific topic led by an adult expert in the field. Secondly, we have in-school clubs, where 4-H activities are integrated into school programs, supplementing existing curricula. And we have after-school programs, which is where 4-H is available in an after-school setting to provide additional learning opportunities for youth. Clubs meet regularly for group activities and club business, with each club electing officers and having an approved adult leader to supervise and guide the members. To join 4-H, contact your local extension office. A staff member will explain the enrollment process and membership dues. In addition to dues, some projects may require a small investment to get started, and there may be a fee for materials, trips, or other fun activities. Young people are welcome to join at any point in the year, but the 4-H program year runs from October 1st to September 30th. As somebody who's a 4-H'er, what I love is 4-H encourages leadership, community service, and citizenship, but one thing that I have seen the most is public speaking. I know that my club leaders know how important public speaking is no matter what field you're going into, and at every meeting, almost everybody says something in some way. And I absolutely love how 4-H has encouraged my public speaking as well as my siblings and friends. Another really positive about 4-H for me is it keeps all aged youth together. You have 5 through 18-year-olds all in the same room. So the younger kids are learning from the older kids, and the older kids are learning a thing or two from the younger kids as well. So where do you fit in? So you can take a class. You can visit the website to see upcoming events and register for classes. You can also get involved and volunteer for one of our programs, including 4-H, or serve on the local county council. You can also tell others. Share our calendar of events or newsletter, which you can subscribe to online. And to donate, you can visit the MU Extension website. One last thing before I open this up for questions, I just want to say these programs are important. I can use the 4-H angle. I have been part of my current club for 4 years now, and I have seen 4-H'ers go from quiet, they don't say anything, they stay in the corner, to the first ones to raise their hand, the first ones to volunteer them or their parents for a committee. And I'll use my brother as an example. When we joined 4-H, he wanted to write a joke book, but he didn't like performing, but the project that he enrolled in was called Theater Arts. My mom was going to teach him, and it was going to be great, and another parent volunteered, and she said, I'm going to get the kids together, and we're going to do a play. Now, you guys don't know my brother. He is not the kind who would go up on a stage 4 years ago. And my mom told him, we're going to go to this meeting, and we're just going to try it out. And now he loves it. And he's the first to raise his hand, the first to give suggestions, and is such a changed person because of it. And I'm so grateful for that. Thank you so much for your time today and letting me talk about Extension and 4-H, which is extremely special to me. Are there any questions that I can answer?
Any questions from the board to our guest, Ms. Katie? Do you have something to add?
Yeah, I just want to say really quick, I'm the engagement specialist, so I'm one of the staff members on staff, and thank you, Katie, you did an amazing job, so I really appreciate that. We're really trying to break the cycle. We're always told we're the best kept secret. These are all of your tax dollars that go to the programs that we administer, and we don't want to be a secret anymore. So we're trying to make it out to all the municipalities in our region. It's like 56 municipalities, in case you're wondering. It's a lot, but that's why we're here, and hopefully you'll see us again next year. We want your residents of Kearney to take advantage of our programs. We want to extend our reach out into the community, and we want to start with our municipal partners as that helps. So that's why we're here tonight. So thank you, Katie, and thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you for being here, and it's very apparent that you are,
Oh, I'm so sorry.
you're fine, very apparent, you're very passionate about 4-H, and if there's ever anything we can do to help you along the way, let us know. Thank you for being here. We'll move on to open public comments. During the open public comments section of our meeting agenda, we invite residents of Kearney to step forward and directly address their Board of Aldermen. Each resident of Kearney is requested to clearly state their name and address for the record and will have 3 minutes to present their statement. This session is specifically designed for residents to express their views or concerns. It is not intended for dialogue, debate, or question and answer interactions with the board. All statements made during this time will be formally recorded in our public record. We urge participants to keep their remarks respectful and focused on matters relevant to Kearney. Your contributions are a vital part of our continuous efforts to enrich and improve Kearney, and we thank you for adhering to these guidelines and helping us maintain the decorum of this process. The timer on the screen will advance from green to red. The timer will be green for the first 2 minutes, yellow for the last minute, and red when your time is up. Are there any residents of Kearney, Missouri that wish to address your board this evening? Sean, go ahead.
A few copies of these, but I don't think we need enough.
All right, good evening. My name is Shawn Warfield. I'm part of Kearney Holt Cans. I'm here because our kids, our families, and our community deserve protection from unregulated, addictive gas station drugs, especially kratom and its chemical derivatives. Kratom comes from the leaves of an evergreen tree in Southeast Asia. It has traditional use, but what's being sold in our area today is not traditional kratom. It's tablets, shots, powders, and high-potency chemical extracts. Kratom is classified as an atypical opioid, meaning it has both stimulant and opioid-like effects. These products are being sold through a dangerous regulatory gap. The FDA states kratom is not approved for any medical use and cannot be marketed as a dietary supplement. The DEA has recommended that it be scheduled with other dangerous drugs, but that takes time, leaving a wide open market with no age limits, no testing requirements, no potency caps, and no oversight. There are 50 alkaloids in kratom. One of them, 7-hydroxide, I'm going to call it 7-OH, exists naturally in extremely small amounts, but is being chemically boosted in labs into highly potent forms. It is estimated to be 13 times stronger than morphine and produces effects similar to conventional opioids: pain relief, euphoria, respiratory depression, nausea, and addiction. The FDA warns of liver damage, convulsions, dependency, and severe withdrawal. Real harm is happening here. A coalition member in Ray County shared that their best friend's brother got hooked on kratom. Within 1 month, he quit his job, became paranoid, was going to the smoke shop every other day, and died by suicide. The medical examiner said she is sick of seeing deaths from a legal drug. This is not isolated. Missouri DHS issued a public health advisory due to rising poison control calls. Regional law enforcement has flagged 7-OH as an emerging threat. Here in Kansas City, the City Council is considering Ordinance 251028, which would regulate the sale of a broader category of psychoactive retail substances, including intoxicating hemp cannabinoids like Delta-8, Delta-10, THCA, kratom, and its derivatives like 7-OH. I want to express strong support for including kratom derivatives and high-potency extracts in that regulatory framework. Tonight, I respectfully urge you to not bend to the pressure from businesses profiting off addiction. This is the same pattern we saw with Delta-8 and other gas station highs. They arrive fast, they addict fast, and the community pays the price. Right now, a teenager can walk into a vape shop and buy a chemical opioid extract with no ID, no warning label, no limit. That is a failure we can fix. Please move forward with regulations that include age restrictions, potency limits, clear labeling, testing, and enforcement. Thank you for protecting the health and safety of our residents and our kids.
Thank you for being here this evening.
Any questions?
I'm sorry, we can't use this
Okay,
session
I
as
didn't know
a
if you
Q&A
had any
dialogue.
questions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
sorry.
You're okay.
Did not mean to throw that at you. Anybody else that wish to address the board this evening? We'll move on to the consent agenda.
Randy.
Sorry? Are you a resident of the city of Kearney, sir?
No,
Okay.
I'm a resident of the United States, and I'm American, and I like to address the board. I already signed it over there,
Okay.
and to present the foreign service letter to you guys.
All right, sir. At this point, you're out of order, and I'm going to ask you to refrain from interrupting the meeting anymore at this point. If you're not a resident of the city of Kearney, you're not eligible to speak to the board under our open public comment section this evening. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Does any member of the board have an item of discussion or question on the consent agenda this evening? If not, can we entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I make a motion to approve as presented.
Oh, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Consent agenda passes as presented. We'll move on to ordinances. The first item this evening is a motion approving bill number 58, 2025, presented by David Pavlich, our Community Development Director, an ordinance amending Municipal Code Section 405, 105, and 405, 180, establishing regulations for short-term rentals. David?
Yeah, so before you tonight is a proposed code amendment establishing requirements for short-term rentals. This ordinance puts simple rules in place like occupancy limits to try and prevent party houses essentially in quiet neighborhoods. Business licensing and a permit and having local contact so that problems can be addressed quickly and neighborhoods aren't negatively impacted by the commercial Airbnb or other short-term type of rental unit in a neighborhood. Planning and zoning recommends approval of the ordinance. They approved that at their last meeting on last Monday. Staff did make some minor changes since that P&Z meeting. There were two minor changes. One was to specify that a P.O. box cannot be used as a physical address. There's a proximity requirement that we have. We want the owner or a property management company to be in close proximity so they can respond to issues. We had an email request wondering if a P.O. box could satisfy that requirement, so we want to be sure that we specifically exclude that in the ordinance. And then the other was to add that a permit fee is to be per the schedule of fees. We'll have a schedule of fees for all the fees in the city, and that this ordinance would reference that for fee calculations. Staff recommends approval. Planning and zoning recommends approval. The purpose of this is essentially the World Cup's coming to Kansas City next year. A lot of communities are preparing for an influx of people that we don't have enough hotel space for those, and so it's being opened up for people to rent their house out to some of the clientele that will be in the city visiting.
Alderman Lehman is our P&Z liaison. Do you have anything to add to staff's report?
There was some discussion at planning and zoning, the original document. We asked that two of the subsections be combined. I think that's subsection F now.
F and H, and I think they stay F.
Yeah, okay. But just to reiterate what our community development director said, David and I have worked on this for a few times, trying to get this thing in place before the World Cup comes, and I think it's good for the city.
Any questions from the board on the proposed ordinance?
I just got a question on on the fee, because I know I'm going to get hit with that. How much is the fee to be able to do that?
We're going to propose a fee that matches the business license application fee.
$50.
Some communities, Kansas City, I think maybe was at $200, and they're relaxing that for the World Cup. There's another city in the Northland, I think it's $300, but we want it to be a reasonable fee.
Well, I know I'll get that question.
So you're talking, will they be required to file a business license and pay the $50 fee?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And there'll be a business license, and then it may be that short-term rental business might have more than one location in town, and so we want to be sure that we have can keep track of
Sure.
multiple units if they have them.
All right, if there are no other questions or comments by the board on the proposed ordinance, if we could read the proposed ordinance on the first reading by title only, please.
An ordinance amending municipal code sections 405.105 and 405.180, establishing regulations for short-term rentals.
Move to approve on first reading.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Second reading by title only, please.
An ordinance amending municipal code sections 405.105 and 405.180, establishing regulations for short-term rentals.
Make a motion to approve on second reading.
I'll second.
Poll the board, please.
Alderman Holt.
Aye.
Alderman Lehman.
Aye.
Alderman King.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous and the ordinance is approved. Next item is a motion approving bill number 59, 2025, presented by David Pavlich, our Community Development Director. An ordinance approving the Shops at Kearney First Plat, Lot 3F site plan as submitted by AutoZone. David?
Yeah, so AutoZone, people probably know that, have heard of that business before. They propose to construct a 7,381 square foot building at 780 Watson Drive, which would be adjacent to the Club Car Wash. That site's also adjacent to and would share a driveway with the Les Schwab Tire Center that was approved earlier this year. It's exciting. We've got some activity going on along Watson Drive. It's good to see that. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the site plan. There were some conditions of approval. Staff recommends approval, and Planning and Zoning supports that.
Alderman Lehman, do you have anything to add as our Planning and Zoning Liaison?
The only discussion we really had was, there was some discussion about the type of plants and shrubs. One of our members wanted some evergreens so that you could have some color year-round. Our Community Development Director stated that the landscape plan meets the point system that Kearney has adopted, and so with that, we made a motion to send it to this board.
Any questions from the board or statements on the proposed ordinance? All right, if we could read the proposed ordinance on the first reading by title only, please.
An ordinance approving the Shops at Kearney First Plat, Lot 3F site plan as submitted by AutoZone.
Move to approve on first reading.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Second reading by title only, please.
An ordinance approving the Shops at Kearney First Plat, Lot 3F site plan as submitted by AutoZone.
Motion to approve on second reading.
I'll second that.
Pull the board, please.
Alderman Lehman.
Aye.
Alderman King.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
Alderman Holt.
Aye.
Vote is unanimous and the ordinance is approved. We'll move on to resolutions this evening. The first item this evening is a motion approving Resolution 74, 2025, presented by Eric Marshall, our Parks Director. A resolution approving a reservation of park agreement for the Jesse James Pavilion between Kearney Lions Club, Kearney Enrichment Council, and the City of Kearney, Missouri. Eric?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At our November 18th, 25 meeting, the Kearney Lions Club and the Enrichment Council came before our park board, made a formal request to host the Wine Fest at the Jesse James Park Pavilion for Saturday, June 13th, 2026. It was passed by a 9-0 vote to come before you for the final approval. In the past, the Lions Club has hosted the Wine Fest, but their club is dwindling and they wanted to partner with another organization to make sure that the Wine Fest was a success, so they contacted the Enrichment Council to do so. The board was totally in favor of that. The fee schedule will be from 2 to 8 p.m. with $500 fee. And the Knights of Columbus obviously has right of first refusal for serving the food at that event, and they will, unless they refuse, but the Lions Club is excited to get back into the Wine Fest and do another wine taste event now that they've got some additional help to do that with them. So,
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Anybody have any questions on the proposed resolution?
Excited to see it come back. I think the last time was 2019, so
Oh, really?
it's been a while.
It's been a while. I didn't know it was that long ago, but yeah. it's been a while.
Yeah, COVID hit, and
At least they're partnering with some good people and have better help.
If we could read the proposed motion, please.
A resolution approving a reservation of park agreement for the Jesse James Pavilion between Kearney Lions Club, Kearney Enrichment Council, and the City of Kearney, Missouri.
motion to approve on first reading.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is approved. We'll move on to items for review and presentation. The first item this evening is our November monthly financial report presented by Stephanie Harris, our finance director. Stephanie?
Good evening, Mayor and Board of Aldermen. This is the financial report for the month ending November 30th, and that is 8 months into our fiscal year, or 67%. Our finances, just a follow-up probably from last month where I talked about sales tax and that I was going to be doing analysis. Done a pretty extensive analysis, in particular of our top 20 revenue producers historically, and looks like everything, for the most part, is related to timing. There are a lot of differences amongst them all. Some are up, some are down, but no industry indicator, no real rhyme or reason, I guess I can say, except that we haven't received remittances for some, state hasn't remitted some of the November remittances, so there's definitely a timing, and last year we had an additional payment for our largest revenue producer, so again, a lot of it is just related to timing.
So Stephanie, if you mind me to jump right in, so like the 2 to 3% that appears revenue is down, you think that's strictly just a timing thing?
Average, I mean, right now, April to November, we're down about 1.8% overall in that top 20. So just extrapolating, 2% is down. But yes, it looks like the majority is timing.
Okay.
And I'll continue to watch it closely. Obviously, next month's financials will look different, but by January, we'll have a really good picture because at that point, property taxes will be in, and we'll have a much better handle on where we are at overall from a city standpoint. Otherwise, other than that, which again, sales tax is kind of reflected all throughout the financials, but capital projects still ongoing. Some were budgeted but haven't incurred any expenses. Property taxes still outstanding for the year. Other than that, everything else looks right where we would expect it to be, or even with those things, it's right where we expect it to be for the year. So, don't know if anybody saw anything that they have any questions about.
Any questions from the board on the financial report? Thank you for that report. Next item is the wastewater facility and collection system needs update and utility rate study presented by Shelley Daniel, our Public Works Director.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the Board of Aldermen. We are here tonight for a critical presentation on the city's wastewater facility plan and rate study update. The purpose of this study is threefold: to comply with new regulatory requirements, plan for city's growth, and address our aging infrastructure. The recommended improvements for the collection system in the wastewater treatment plant require a proactive, long-term funding strategy, which is why the team will also present the draft water and sewer rate study. I would like to now introduce the project team from HDR, who will walk us through the draft results, starting with the facility plan details. Leading the planning and regulatory compliance for this effort is David Cariani, who will kick off the presentation, and then they'll just self-introduce after that.
Yes, thanks, Shelley. Thank you, everybody. David Cariani from HDR, like Shelley said. So happy to be here today. She did a great job. enough, so I won't repeat her. I will quickly introduce our folks here. We got a quick agenda here. I think that Shelley covered this really well. We will cover the drivers once again, just to kind of remind everybody why we're looking at what we are. But we've got a bunch of folks here in the back. Some of them will come up and speak as we go through these slides. But myself, again, I kind of lead up the regulatory support and DNR coordination aspects of this project and some other ones that we have going on with you all. Just going across the list there. So Eric Farrell back here, he'll talk a little bit about the collection system work that we're looking at. Matt Say is our project manager for the wastewater facility studies, facility plan studies, so on the treatment side. Josiah Close, who's sitting back here behind me, he's our rates and finance guy. So he'll get up and talk to you a little bit about the draft results there. And then Brandon Coleman, who's sitting over in the corner, is the principal for the wastewater facility planning project, which is the most critical one for you here today. So brought a lot of us here because there's a lot of technical stuff here. We won't dive into the technical details. We can if you'd like. But I also just wanted you all to know that there's a big team working on all these different studies for you guys. We know it's important to you all. I want to make sure we do it right because there's going to be some big decisions for you guys moving forward. So, towards the end of this, we'll get into these two topics, but two of the things that you all have to consider tonight and going forward make decisions on have to do with, number one, decisions about how to finance some of the upgrades and improvements that are going to need to be made here in the future, and so we'll talk a little bit about what that looks like, what some of the options are. And then when it comes to the rate study, how you all want to structure rates going forward. So there's the winter water use method versus looking at all water use. Josiah will dig into that as we go, but we just want to tee that up because we'll get to it at the end. We've got a bunch of slides in between, and we didn't want to lose track of that. So just going back through the drivers, like Shelley said, there's three main things that we're concerned about here. So it's aging infrastructure, deferred maintenance at the wastewater treatment facility, and then in the collection system more broadly. So that's all the pipes that lead down to the treatment plant. There are new regulatory requirements that are coming in the next 5 to 10 years that every city across the state are trying to prepare for. Some are in different positions and are better positions than others. And then there's also some existing regulations that we want to make sure that you all can continue to comply with and not have to deal with compliance issues with DNR. And then also addressing capacity and growth issues. So capacity is just restoring the capacity of the existing, especially the collection system. So there's some places within the system where there's bottlenecks, potentially can get overflows or backups into people's basements. Nobody wants that. So it's restoring some of that capacity and also preparing for any future growth that's going to occur. So those are the three main drivers. One of the things before we dig into what we're doing, wanted to make the point to tell you all that we know that you've done a lot of studies in the past, and those are all being used in this assessment, so none of this work that you did before is getting thrown out the window. We're building off of those studies to move forward with what's to come. So there's been a wastewater collection system study that dug into all those bottleneck issues and some of those details that I talked about. There's been a study on the wastewater system. The drinking water master plan also ties into the rate study that Josiah will talk about. And then I know back in 22, there was a drinking water system study that I think helps drive the water tower project that you all have. And so all of these studies are getting carried forward. We're just continuing to refine them. It's just part of the process. So two particular studies we're going to talk about. I have three things up on the screen. I'm going to hit on the third one just to give you guys some awareness. But number one, the wastewater facility plan. So that's what we're going to talk about first. So this is the study to identify what is today's need, particularly at the treatment facility, but also in the collection system. So we're trying to plan out coverage for the next 20 to 30 years to make sure that you guys have the infrastructure that you need for that. But the investment needed to do that is very short term, right? So it's money that's going to be needed in the next 5 to 7 years to move forward with those projects. That facility planning study is also something that's kind of the first step in moving forward with any design and construction as you move into it. And it's also a requirement of DNR just to get the whole project permitted down the road. So it's a study you have to do either way. It kind of sets the stage for what's to come. The second one Josiah will talk about is the drinking water sewer rate study, and the drinking water and sewer rate study. So that one is purely about what are the rates that are going to be needed to cover these costs, and that's really looking at like a 5 to 10 year window. So I think and Josiah will get into this, but we plan for 10 years. Really, it's that first 5 years that's the focus, so we have to do the 10-year projection. I'll get into that a little bit. And then just so you all know, we'll be coming back sometime next year about this third study. It's called an integrated management plan. So this is a more bigger, comprehensive, long-term infrastructure planning study that actually the city was smart enough to go and get a grant from DNR to do. But that we'll start looking at what beyond that 10 years, what does improvements look like in the system, just to start preparing you all for what that looks like. So we don't get into a situation 5 to 10 years down the road where we again have this deferred maintenance that we need to catch up on. So those are the 3 things that are going on. We're going to focus on the first 2 right now. So with that being said, we're going to get into draft facility plan, I should say, before Matt starts. So we're getting near the end of wrapping up this plan. We need to write it all down and get it buttoned up in a report. The results we're going to show you today are sort of where we're at today and what we expect to carry forward unless we get significant comment from either here tonight or afterwards. So we'll bring that up. Yep.
Well, Matt Say, I'm the project manager over the wastewater facility plan portion of this project. As the slide shows up there, the facility plan, we're going to review and update the 20-year flow and load projections for the wastewater plant, and the collection system's also included in it, some improvements for the collections. It will include a regulatory review, wastewater treatment alternatives. There's 4 collection system improvements bulleted up on the slide, which we'll have individual slides for that later in the presentation, and then also develop the project permitting requirements for when it goes into construction. So this is just kind of an overview of the collection system. So you can see some bullets about the collection system. It consists of 6 sewer basins. There's over 325,000 feet of sewers, so a lot of sewer pipe included in it. There's 5 lift stations. Those are just what they sound like. They're pump stations for where wastewater can't be conveyed by gravity. You've got to pump it in a few locations to serve all the areas. And all of that conveys the flow. You can see at the south end of the city is where the wastewater treatment plant is located. It's abbreviated with WWTP there, so all the flow is conveyed to the south side of Kearney, and just that's where it's treated. So your existing wastewater treatment plant has a design flow capacity of about 1.125 MGD, and the current average flows to that plant are at 0.92 MGD. So you're currently at about 82% of the design flow for the plant, which a rule of thumb for design is we typically recommend projects going to design at about 80% design flow, so you guys are right at that milestone. So it's really the right time to start the design for the improvements. There is a table included, which David mentioned some previous reports. This table has some flow projections that show that it's anticipated that the plant's going to exceed that design flow capacity of 1.125 MGD in about 6 to 7 years. So right now is the time to start the design so you can have construction in place and have the improvements completed.
Hey Matt, I don't know if you have this readily available, but I think I've heard staff, I took some notes here. I see that, so that's a 2025 average, 92 million gallons a day. I thought, Shelley, maybe you had given a report at a previous meeting, maybe some metrics or a quarterly update. I think there's been a few times that we bumped up against kind of a max design flow at peak times. So
we're looking at increasing the peak design capacity of the plant as well. That's correct, yeah, because as the average flows increase,
whether it's I&I or
it increases with the average flows, and it's usually by factor, so that the peak flow capacity through the plant will be increased as well, which fortunately you guys have had some improvements. Your most recent improvements, Headworks, secondary clarifiers added to the plant, were already designed to those peak flows. That it's a 2.25 MGD average flow and a 9 MGD peak flow, so you have some facilities already in place that meet those flow capacities. It's your secondary treatment that's going to have to be decreased.
I mentioned all that just, I think we are already bumping up against our max design flow today, even though our average is kind of...
when you get wet weather events?
Yes, and have all the I&I and things that, okay,
so
thank you.
Yeah, so that will be part of it, is to increase that peak capacity. Absolutely. So this lists some of the items that we're addressing with the proposed improvements. Rehabilitation of existing facilities, better equipment access, and administration and building improvements that'll improve the safety and health conditions out of the plant for staff. Regulatory drivers, you mentioned that the secondary treatment is really where the capacity needs are, so we need to improve secondary treatment and meet your long-term capacity needs. and also improve solids processing. Right now, the solids processing does not have enough capacity for the plant, so we need to increase the capacity of that as well. And we just discussed about the average design and peak flow capacities as part of the project. So we did evaluate multiple secondary treatment alternatives. There's 4 listed here: membrane bioreactor, mobile organic biofilm. These are all intensification processes. There's not a lot of space available for expanding the plant, so we didn't look at sticking with the conventional activated sludge process that's currently out there. We just require too much reactor volume. So we're looking at intensification processes, and after review of all these, the MBBR process, the moving bed biofilm reactor, is what was determined to be the best fit for this plant for the improvements. And that basically consists of adding 1 additional, but you guys currently have 3 reactor basins in your secondary treatment process, and 1 additional will be added, and then media will be added to increase the capacity of that process.
So they would just be added to the existing basins?
It'd be added to 3 existing basins and 1 new basin.
And 1 new basin, okay.
Yeah. And I thought I had it shown on it. So if you look where the orange area is, that's just showing where some gravel is, but plan west of that, you can kind of see one of those basins is more bold than the other 3. So the faded back basins are the 3 existing, and then the 1 bold one would be added.
The new one, okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. So the cost of the improvements is estimated about $50 million, and this is, we're probably at about 15% design if we had to put a percentage on it, so it is early in the design process, so there are contingency dollars, market volatility factors in there, but we want to be conservative at this point because it is early in design. But that's the estimated cost of the improvements, and again, they'll address aging infrastructure, will rehabilitate aging infrastructure, set you up to meet future discharge limits, and also increase the plant capacity. Really, that's the slides on the treatment plant improvements, and we're trying to kind of stay high level with it, but we're happy to dive into the details if you guys have any questions, get into any details on the project.
Any questions from the board at this point?
Not for me.
All right, thank you.
I think the next slide, I hand it over there.
Good evening, Eric Farrow. I'm Collection System Task Lead for the wastewater facility plan. So shifting gears from the wastewater plant over to the collection system, all the gravity and pressure pipes that are in the ground, including the lift stations that were noted. So what we're doing here is addressing the city's aging infrastructure and deferred maintenance. We look at it in those 2 main categories. And I understand city staff is well underway on taking up some of the projects, starting with the I&I or influent infiltration that's being addressed up here in the older parts of town here where we sit in Basin 5 per the map that was shown earlier. And this then builds on that, looking at and planning down the road. So the other options, such as potential overflows and backups that could occur in the system. So when we look at the system as a whole, we want to provide a level of service to reduce any potential backups or overflows. There's none currently occurring, but we just talk about them as potentials just so you do plan for the future and can convey that flow, especially the peak flows that were noted earlier down to the treatment plant. So that all that work that's going on in Basin 5 now helps to relieve the collection systems downstream and overall improves the capacity of the collection system. So the areas that are highlighted in that cyan color there are some of those spots that we would look at potentially doing alternatives for in the future, just depending on where the city grows. And the total estimated cost for the collection system portion of the projects that have been identified are about $5.4 million.
It does.
So again, keeping it at a high level, but happy to dig into any of the details. There are a few specific projects mentioned on the intro slide. Those built into this collection system slide as well.
Sorry to interrupt you there. It doesn't appear that removing any of our 5 existing lift stations are part of so they would remain as part of the plan currently?
Correct. At the present moment, James Point is one of the oldest and smallest lift stations that serves that Basin 5 I noted. It takes on low pressure sewer from west of I-35, so it's starting to present some deferred maintenance issues. So that's one specific lift station project. Not pictured on this slide, but of course the city has relatively recently decommissioned lift stations where possible. So ultimately, if you can convey that flow by gravity to the plant, the better. None others that I'm aware of being planned at this time.
Okay. Any other questions here? Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I'll kick it over to Josiah to present on the rate study.
Good evening, Josiah Close with HDR, and I'm the task lead for the rates and financial piece. So they gave a great overview of some of the considerations that go into the study, and I'm going to give background on the methodologies and approaches that we use for accumulating costs. Obviously, capital cost is going to be a contributing factor here. And so just some overview of the system. They've really gone over it, but just to get a perspective on how much infrastructure is in the ground. Obviously, the wastewater treatment plant is a huge piece, but there's a lot of stuff that we don't see underneath us. Water mains, we have over 300 miles of pipe. Sewer, we're at 62 miles, right? So there's a lot of infrastructure out there that we have to address and make sure that it's operating, 365 days a year. So when they flush the toilet or when they turn on the tap, that we have that service provided for the customers. So how we go about a rate study, we have two industry manuals we look at. The pictured, the black one on top there, that's for water. It's the American Water Works Association M1 manual. And then for wastewater or sewer, we have the Water Environment Federation Manual of Practice number 27. And what these manuals do is give us a structure for how to conduct that rate study. So we're doing this in accordance with how rate studies are developed across the country. We can do that so that it's predictable and make sure that we're following those generally accepted practices. What it does is it gives us approaches for accumulating costs, some considerations we want to think about, what we want rates to cover. So the operations and maintenance expenses, the salaries, the vehicles, equipment, materials and supplies, all of those things from the budget. We want to include that. The capital considerations that we've started to discuss, those go into those total costs. We also want to think about other intangibles. So what do our cash reserves look like? We need to have cash flow reserves so that we can bridge the gap between when we expend costs to provide service to the customers and then when we bill the customers and then receive that revenue from the customers. That's several month period. And so the utilities as an enterprise fund need to have that cash on hand to accomplish that task. We also want to have reserves available for emergencies or catastrophic failures in the system. If we issue debt, we also want to make sure that we are looking at the debt service coverage ratio. So how much after we pay that operations and maintenance expenses do we have available to cover our debt service? If we're going out on the open market, they're going to look at that when they give terms to the city. So it becomes important long-term to make sure that we keep strong financial metrics so that we can get the best terms for those long-term debt issuances.
Josiah, before you move, I assume you're calling this a draft rate study because at this time the board hasn't made a funding decision nor a decision if we're going to go to the winter average or true volume?
Yes,
okay.
This is just proposed and where we're at right now, so obviously contingent on a lot of other decisions, so okay. Yes. So some key inputs, I mentioned the operations and maintenance budgets from fiscal year 26, the current fiscal year, then we incorporated the 2027 budget as well, and we project those costs forward based on inflationary factors so that we can make sure that the water and sewer utilities are covering the costs into the future. As David mentioned, we're looking at a 10-year period for the utilities, focusing in on a shorter period, 5 or so years, just because some of the capital considerations obviously can change in that longer term period. So we want to make sure the O&M costs are covered and that inflation piece is met. For capital, on the water side, primarily, we're going to be funding that through rates and reserves, so cash on hand. We're not looking at any long-term debt issuances, and that's for water line replacements and other operations and maintenance type activities that we have. On the sewer side, as you heard, there's a lot more capital investment that we do need to make, and so we're looking at a total program around $60 million, and then you saw for debt coverage, we're looking at $55-ish million is from proceeds for that. So that's what's baked into the results that you're going to see here shortly. The capital funding plan, this is where we include the capital projects that we've identified. This chart shows, so in the gray area, the gray shaded area of these charts is what we're paying through rate-funded capital, so that's pay-as-you-go. We want to make sure rates have the capacity to invest in the system on an ongoing basis. This is like changing the oil in your car. We don't want to be going to get a loan to do that. We want to, although you might soon, I guess, but you know, that's the things we want to cover through rates. We also use a little bit of reserves, and so you can see we try to nudge that number up over time again to incorporate the future cost of things. So when we plan for maintenance activities in the future, we're escalating those costs out, so we want to make sure that this is increasing over time to cover those costs. As we mentioned, there was some other studies that identified additional capital. So within the rate study, it is a little bit less than what has been previously identified. So around $2 million was the identified capital for the water utility, but due to funding constraints, we've backed that down to around $500,000 for 27. So it's just to let you all know there's some capital that we can't get to all at once, and so we have to prioritize, which is you know, a typical process within the rate study. We have to work within what we have available for funding. This chart shows a summary of our total accumulated costs for the water utility. The dark gray bar is our O&M expenses from the budget. Again, we have 26 and 27, and then we escalate in 28 through 31 to keep up with the inflation of costs. The blue section is the existing debt. We, again, are not issuing additional debt, so that's just debt on the books already. The green area is our rate-funded capital component, which we use to fund those capital projects. That's from the prior 2 slides ago that we're using to cash fund those projects. And as you can see with the solid line, that's our current rate revenues. And so when we compare those, we have some deficiencies short-term. That's the orange negative in 26 and 27. And that's the difference between the dashed line and the total expenses. So we're proposing rates that will spin off that dashed line level of revenues. We're trying to be cognizant of rate impact short term, so we have some available reserves that we're going to use to transition as smoothly as we can for water. And then you can see in the out years we're able to, that orange section has moved up into the positive, and so we're able to cover those reserves that we utilized early on and try to smooth out that over the 5-year period. For sewer, just because of the magnitude of those capital projects, it kind of skews. It looks like a very small amount that we're contributing to rate-funded capital, but we do have that component there as well as reserves. But just the nature of the treatment plant upgrades as well as on the collection system, it kind of skews that here. But so it just gives you kind of a scope of the investments that we're looking at on the sewer side and how much they're going to impact rates. And it's a similar story with what has been identified prior as far as some maintenance activities on the sewer system. We didn't work in the whole capital improvement project listing. We had to scale that back a little bit for the 27 budget. And again, just trying to work in consideration to the overall impact to rates. So for sewer, it's similar chart as far as the colors here. We have the dark gray as our budgeted O&M expenses, again, salaries and benefits, materials and supplies and vehicles, the things you need to keep the utilities operating each day. We have those budgeted for the first 2 years and then increasing with our escalation factors. The blue area is then the debt from the treatment plant upgrades as well as the collection system. So you can see after 27, that number really starts to jump up there and becomes a pretty significant component in your total expenses. We used a similar approach short term to try to lessen that impact with 26 and 27, those orange shaded areas as our uses of existing reserves so that we can try to smooth that transition. And then we're able to, as we continue to increase rates, we can replenish those reserves in 29, and that dotted line again is our proposed revenue level to cover the costs, both O&M and capital, as well as those strong financial policies that we want to have for the water and sewer utilities.
Josiah, so back on like the slides, like you have like the city identified needs compared to budget. There we go, perfect. Okay, no, you have it there. Okay, so the needs, it's not like a staff pipe dream, right? It appears it's from, the needs are based off of like a legitimate study, those previous studies that we okay.
Yeah, so, and this is happens in a lot of rate studies that I'm involved with as well, right? Is that we know the aging infrastructure, we're behind on it, and so we have to prioritize and work within that. So yes, these were identified in prior studies, and we have a note as well on the water slide identifying that those were from prior studies too. Any other questions?
Sorry, I think that's just important, right?
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
it's,
Yeah.
We have a long history of being creative at the city of Kearney and not increasing fees or taxes, but I think you see here what that does after 50 plus years of not properly building reserves, and you eventually have to pay the piper.
Yeah.
And so.
And the city's not alone in it. I wouldn't say
For sure.
It's these conversations I'm having all over the place, and but we have to decide what to do with the information, right? Once we see it all put together like this. So with that, I'll jump into the rate design. So the revenue requirement is the total amount of revenue we need to cover costs. The rate design then looks at how we're going to collect that revenue from the customers. So for water, we have a fixed charge by meter size. Sewer's the same way. We're not recommending any changes there. We'll look at a table here in a couple that shows the current and proposed rates. The structure on the volume side, it's a little confusing with, there's a couple tiers. The first 1,000 is at one price. The second 1,000 to 2,000 is at a price, and then the third over 2,000 and above is at a different price. So for water, we're recommending moving to just a uniform structure. So if you think of it as averaging all those tiers and it's one cost, and we're hoping that that would be easier for customer service to help the customer understand how we're charging. You don't have to go through a long ordeal. Again, it doesn't change how much revenue you're collecting, it just changes how you're collecting it. And we'll look at that in the slide here so that you can see what I'm talking about. Sewer is a similar discussion, but we do have the winter water averaging alternative, and we can get into some benefits there. You're excluding that irrigation volume for residential customers. They are a significant peak on your system from a water perspective. However, that isn't correlated into the sewer side, right? That doesn't go into the sewer system. And so when we look at a winter water structure, we're looking at that winter period when we're excluding that irrigation or outdoor usage, so that we're charging the customer based on the actual volume contribution to wastewater that they have. So for water, this is what I was mentioning. So the fixed piece, we're not, that's pretty contemporary. Matching the water meter, that helps us to allocate the cost based on the capacity for each meter. The larger the meter, the more water you can get through it. So we're charging customers in that component based on their potential capacity on the system. On the volume charge, you can see the 0 to 1,000 is at the $11.55, then it goes to $10.07, and then it goes to $11.31. So what we were proposing was to try to clean that up and just go to a volumetric rate that is uniform, meaning each unit is the same price for all that, to try to help with any confusion. Again, it doesn't change the overall revenue generation, it's just the structure that you collect it. So here's the chart for monthly bill impacts. We're looking at a 5/8 inch meter, which is your most common, and then 3,500 gallons. Currently, that would cost $43.59. Under the proposed rates, it would be $48.31, and then that would increase the subsequent years 2 through 5 up to $66.48. And we have a chart further down where we show a local comparison with combined utilities, because that's what we often will look at within the industry. So that may give you a little better perspective as to what the water and sewer combined is going to affect people. For sewer, it's a similar discussion. The fixed charge, we're leaving that alone. That's pretty contemporary with what people are using. It reflects the best practices for the meter size basis for charging people. And then on the variable, we have the cleanup of, the different tier costs there. And for residential, that would be based on your winter water average billing. And then for all other customers, it would just be on all water use. So here's a chart showing the bill impact. The gray bar is at current rates, $43.01, and that is at 3,500 gallons. When you go to a winter water average, the equivalent would be 3,000 gallons based on the data. So we looked at all of your customer data for your system and looked at the winter period and calculated the average, and that's about what we came up with. So when you use that 3,000 and the proposed rates for 2027, you would get $47.42. And then as the debt comes online, so again, making sure we cover the debt cost, but also looking at the debt service coverage ratio, so that margin that the financial industry looks at, Standard & Poor's or Moody's, we have to make sure that we're solvent from that perspective as well. So as we climb up, we have those increases to cover that within the identified schedule, and it goes up to 98.82 by year 2031. So here's the chart I mentioned before where we're combining the water and the sewer bill for other local utilities to look at where your present rates are. That is calculated with the 3,500 gallons, and then the green shaded bar is under the proposed rates with sewer reflecting that winter water average billing at 3,000 gallons.
I would assume this chart, it's pretty clear to see those of us that have yet to upgrade our sewer and wastewater treatment facilities and those that have.
Yeah, and it's never apples to apples,
Yeah.
but people that have been on the train of maybe making those adjustments earlier are probably higher than you, and this is just a snapshot in time.
Sure.
Most people are going to be doing rate studies within the next 5 years as well.
So just to wrap it up, I know it's a lot of information. We want to just give you a little bit of information on potential funding options and just things to think about as you plan going forward. So again, we mentioned at the beginning, two of the main points of consideration for you all coming out of tonight are how to finance these things, all these improvements, and then, like Josiah just went through, this rate structure and what that means for the city. So on the financing piece of this, I just wanted to mention the State Revolving Loan Fund program, we call it SRF. So this is a low-interest loan program through the state of Missouri. You get qualified projects can take out a loan at 30% of the market rate, so you get very low financing terms. You generally get 20 to 30-year term on the project. We can typically get 30 as long as your infrastructure is going to last for 30 years, which a treatment plant should. But there's 3 requirements to be able to qualify for this program. So first, you've got to have revenue bond in place to cover the debt that you're taking a loan out for. You've got to have a complete engineering report, so that's this facility plan that we're working on right now. And then you've got to get an application in, which is easy to do with the state of Missouri. You can do that at any time of the year. If you get that in before March 1st of every year, you can also qualify for grants. So there's changes from year to year, but there's typically about $1 million to $1.5 million in grant too that you can get if you get in on time. So you need to have those 3 things in place. And so if you want to go that route, thinking about a revenue bond election and getting that on the calendar is probably a near-term step. I know that's a decision for you all. I can't tell you what to do there, but just know that you have to have that before you can even go this path. There you go. What does that mean in terms of savings? So this is just real simple, back of the envelope calculation for comparison's sake. We ran 2 scenarios. So the one you see on the left is if we take that $55.4 million that we showed you before for the sewer improvements, so that's a treatment plant and a handful of collection improvements, take it through the state revolving fund program. Last time we checked, the rate was about 1.8%. There is a 0.5% administration fee on top of that. And so we ran that through a 30-year term. This doesn't include the grants. You can see that $55.4 million becomes $76.8 million over the course of 30 years, about a $2.5 million a year payment. On the other side of the chart, or the slide here, is just a more typical sort of alternative financing, COP, or however you're going to do it. This assumes a 5% rate, so just a lot higher than SRF. Again, that same 30-year term, you can see what it does in terms of cost. And so there are significant advantages to going to SRF. It does have its hurdles. You've got to deal with paperwork and go to the DNR and go through the process, but it can save you significantly on your annual payment and your total cost. Josiah, you want to hit this again? I know we just hit this again, but this is a comparison of the 2.
Yeah, it's just to show, so, we ran it at the status quo, so current structure with 3,500 gallons. Basically, the bill impact does not change for the customer if they have that same usage. Where it would be different would be in those irrigation months, right? Where if you're not using the winter water approach, that customer will be charged for volume of water that's not being contributed to the sewer system. So it's just helpful to understand it that way. So that's what this just shows.
And that's all the slide we had. I know that's a lot that we threw at you. You had a lot of big questions here. We're happy to answer more. Sorry that we came with what seems like bad news, but good news is we are developing a plan forward, so should you choose to move forward with that, we're happy to help you along. So,
Yeah, gentlemen, nobody likes to talk about increased fees or increased anything, let alone in the current economic times and the time of everything increasing. But what are our alternatives, right? And so I appreciate you guys putting forth the report, and I think internally, obviously, we have some decisions to make, and appreciate you being here. Does anybody else on the board have any questions or comments on the report? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We'll move on to Mayor's Communications. I do not have anything additional this evening, so we'll move on to City Administrator's report.
The only thing I have is a reminder that our next board meeting will be next year, January 5th at 6:30 right here.
We'll move on to Alderman discussion. Alderman King.
I don't have anything tonight.
Alderman Spencer.
I just want to wish everyone in Kearney a very Merry Christmas. I hope that there are a lot of magic and memories being made this holiday.
Alderman Holt?
I'm just very proud of our football boys. It was nice to hear the fire trucks come through town. And it's been a real pleasure this year living over by the high school and get to listen to all the fireworks and the participation. And the school spirit is so loud that I can hear them in my living room, even with my windows closed, so it's real exciting. So, congratulations to them.
We too get to enjoy that from where we live. It's nice. Alderman Lehman.
Just like to, again, congratulate our football boys. My sister-in-law does not live in town, and we had been talking throughout the day, especially when they won, how Kearney brings teams back into town, and how the fire department shows up, the police department shows up, and the town shows up. And we actually made it back from Overland Park in time. We were sitting in Quick Trip refueling her van and noticed people starting to congregate, and then the police cars showed up, and the fire truck shows up, and so it was, she was very impressed with how Kearney brings the team back into town after a state championship. So it was fun to be able to gloat and be proud as a Bulldog always is. So that was fun. And want to wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I hope your 2026 is prosperous and everybody has good health in 2026. So,
Thank you. That moves on to adjourning of our meeting and entering into our executive session. We do have a closed session noticed up per RSMO 610-021, subsection 1 for legal actions or litigation involving a public governmental body and any confidential or privileged communications between a public governmental body or its representatives and its attorneys in RSMO 610-021 subsection 12 to discuss matters pertaining to negotiated contracts in RSMO 610-021 subsection 13 for individually identifiable personnel records, performance ratings, or records pertaining to employees or applicants for employment. Our meeting will be adjourned from the closed session. If we could consider a motion to enter into executive session.
so moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Alderman King.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
Alderman Holt.
Aye.
Alderman Lehman.
Aye.
Vote is unanimous. Everybody have a nice evening. Thank you for being here.